Baby, turn this radio down. Hey guys and girls, welcome to the Sunday afternoon chat. I'm on Interstate 55, just going into one lane here. I hate all those cars that come up. I had to let about 10 cars get in here. They get in that left lane and go by instead of, they're supposed to merge way back there. They don't merge till they have to. I guess they're trying to get home for dinner or something. I don't know where they're going. But I have got, let's see how far I've got. I've got right now, I've been driving a little bit. I've been driving, that one says 728 miles. 17 miles. I've been driving 17 miles since I left the East Springfield Farm and Home Supply Store. We had a great time there the last 3 days. Listened to a little Christian music. Been talking to my buddy Larry Sissel on the phone. He'd catch me up on what the St. Louis Cardinals is doing. I don't care what the St. Louis Cardinals is doing. I'm a Dodger fan. Boomer Dodgers, Boomer Dodgers. Boomer Sooner, Boomer Dodgers. Sooners did great yesterday. Played a great game up at Nebraska. Started out 3 and out. OU 3 and out. I didn't get to watch it. I've been working every single Saturday of football season so far. But next Saturday, going to get to watch Oklahoma play. I'll be in the stands in the Joe Castiglione suite during the Kansas game coming up here pretty soon. And they play TCU. I'm going to get to watch that game. So they play Kansas State, I think, next Saturday. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But we've been at the Farm and Home Supply there in Springfield, Illinois the last 3 days. Thank you to all of y'all that come by and visited. We had just a lot of people come by and visit the last 3 days. Steady crowds all days. I worked, I think, 5 hours each day there at that store. I've got about 500 miles to go, 488 miles to go to get to Sherry's house. So we're heading that way right now. I got my visor cam, I guess you'd say, set up there. Looks pretty nice. Yeah, looks pretty nice. My visor cam. Chris told me she was going to cut my hair when I got to Sherry's house. She's going to cut my hair tomorrow. I won't be there until the middle of the morning. So she's not going to do that night. She told me she's going to cut my hair. I told her, I said, honey, you only have one arm. You cannot cut my hair with one hand. She said, yes, I can. She said she's going to cut my hair. And can I tell you? She's not. I told her she could cut my hair when her right arm was working as good as her left arm. She's not cutting my hair with one arm. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Because I know what she's thinking. She'd just take a pair of scissors and start whacking left-handed. Might cut my throat at the same time. A lot of people might enjoy that. But she's not cutting my hair. I just had my hair cut. This week at the Quick Trip there in Oklahoma. Sherry cut my hair. I can see. It's not down to my eyes. I can hear. It's not covering my ears. Covering part of my ears, not all of them. But so I'm looking forward to that. But we're going to be driving here for the next several hours, 488 miles. We've had a great week. It's been a sensational week. Chris and I got to spend a big part of the week at the ranch. We were there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We left Thursday. I met Sherry in Muskogee and gave her Chris and Beamer's. I've been at Sherry's house the last couple of days. I will pick up my 2 girls, Chris and Beamer. I'll pick up my 2 girls tonight. I'll be there tonight. I'll pick them up in the morning. We'll head down to the ranch, be at the ranch all week. Actually, we'll be at the ranch for the next couple of weeks where I have to go out on the road and work any and all. I got some guests coming to the ranch from Shell Rotella. Got some guests coming for fish one day, I think on a Friday. So we're going to have a good time. I'm really looking forward to that. We have got, get this now, where I am right now, it's 88 degrees. 88 degrees in Illinois. September, whatever it is. 16th, 17th, 18th, whatever it is. We have got 95 degrees, 97, 98 degrees forecast all next week at my ranch in Oklahoma. Next Friday is forecast to be 97 or 98 degrees. It could hit 100 degrees at Twin Eagle Ranch the end of September. And there is no rain forecast. I looked all the way out till October 2nd on the weather app, the Weather Channel app on my phone. There is no rain forecast, none, on my ranch. And the last time it rained was the first week in August. Rained 1.5. 2 days later, it rained 0.4. That is the first time it rained since the first week in June. So June, July, August, September. June, July, August, September. 4 months. 4 months. Less than 2 inches of rain. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's a terrible drought. I was not alive during the Dust Bowl days in Oklahoma. The Dust Bowl days happened before my time. But I saw old film of the Dust Bowl days. It was unbelievable. And you'd look at ground and there would be no vegetation there at all, just ground. And the wind would blow and it'd just create dust, just a bowl of dust. It looked like a rainstorm coming. It was simply dust blowing with the wind. That's when so many people left Oklahoma and moved to California. A lot of people from Texas did the same thing. They left Texas and moved to California. And so that happened once. Could it happen again? I don't know. I guess it could. And I'm concerned about that because a lot of Oklahoma's got quite a bit of rain. It's beautiful over in Green Country, over around Lake Tenkiller where my house is, and my Jamie's house and Sherry's house, and all my grandkids live over there. It's beautiful. It's green, beautiful. At my ranch, it's yellow, it's brown, it's gray, I don't know. It's bad. The ground was so hard there on my ranch right now, we couldn't even plant a fall food plot. We don't have fall food plots for our deer. I usually plant about 100 acres with Okmulgee River Buckmaker food plot, about 100 acres for the deer, and in 17 or 18 different food plots. The ground is so hard you can't drill it. You can't drill it. My drill will not drill. It will not put the seed in the ground. So we don't have a fall food plot. We had a pretty decent spring plot, and so those the spring plot, the deer still feeding on that. It's still got places, but it's going to be a hard winter for the deer. Hoping it's kind of a warm winter. It's going to be a hard winter for the deer. Did not get to fish any this week. They're at the ranch 3 days. Did not get to fish. We'll get to fish this next week, so that's great. We've got some videos coming up showing you our new albino pen. We will be putting the deer in the albino pen pretty quick, so that's going to be a great deal. This truck tells me I left my signal light on. I always signal when I change lanes. And it's my pet peeve when I see brand new $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 cars and trucks that their signal lights are out on. Their signal lights don't work. They just change lanes, and don't signal. Signaling is to let other people know what you're fixing to do and let them know what you're thinking. I'm thinking about moving to the right, thinking about moving to the left. Please signal. If you see my truck and you're getting ready to change lanes, please signal. Now, I'm not going to give you the peace sign or half of the peace sign or anything. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to think that in my mind. So I'm just saying. You get ready to change lanes around me, please signal. I was trying to cross the road last night, going from my hotel over to an Applebee's, fancy like. Got me an Oreo. I didn't get me a Bourbon Street steak. I got me a Bourbon Street chicken. That's pretty good. First time I ever tried that. Bourbon Street chicken, an Oreo shake, whipped cream on the top, 2 straws, 1 check. Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah, at Applebee's last night. I had to cross a busy road from my hotel, staying at Comfort Suites. I had to cross a busy road from my hotel, and they had signal lights up, and they had a little sign that tells you to stop, a little sign that tells you to walk. They had those. A 4-lane road I had to cross over. I thought, I don't know if I want that Bourbon Street steak that bad. But anyway, I did. I crossed. But there was a lane there where people could come out and turn to the right where I was crossing. And if I crossed when they turned to the right, they'd run over me. So I didn't want to do that. And so I waited, and probably 8 or 10 different cars came by while I'm trying to cross that turn lane to the right. Not a single solitary, not one car signaled to the right. All of those brand new vehicles and the right-hand signal light was out and not working. It's amazing to me. What is General Motors coming to? What is Ram? What are they coming to? What is Toyota? What's all of those companies coming to that their right signal lights doesn't work? I don't know. I don't know how that happens. My signal lights work so well that if I happen to forget and leave it on, which I do, it starts dinging and telling me. It comes a little picture of my truck up there on the grill, on the dash. Not on the grill, on the dash of my truck. And it tells me, your signal light's on, dummy, turn it off. It's clicking, dinging, I turn it off. But all of those brand new vehicles out eating at those fancy restaurants, and the right signal light out on their vehicles out, wasn't working. And so I had to wait till there was nobody coming. A lot of people come and turn that way. Must have been a lot of them lived in that area down there. But anyway, we're going to have a great week this week. Chris is going to be with me at the ranch. We'll be back at the ranch sometime tomorrow. Apache, I talk to him every day. Things are going great at the ranch. Whitey is still alive and well. Apache said he's better. And Apache still is not believing that on his neck is a growth. And by golly, it may not be. But I think it is. I think it's draining. Patsy said he wasn't limping yesterday. He's eating great. A couple of the other doe that were showing signs of illness, we've been giving them shots every day of that high dollar medicine. It's like $800 for a little 100cc bottle. Giving them shots every day with that. It's about a $25 shot every time you give it to them. Give them a shot. And but the does seem to be doing good, and so far we haven't lost. We had 2 adult does. Some of those does are getting old, and they're just simply going to pass away of old age. I know that. Split Ears is one of them that's really old. She may be the oldest deer in the pen, and I probably cry when I lose Split Ears. She's become my baby. Losing Lucille was about as big a heartbreak as Lucy. Not quite, but about as big a heartbreak as Lucy. And one of the reasons it's a big heartbreak is it might have been my fault. I might have just given her too much to eat the day before. I don't know. But it makes me just heartbroken to think about that I might have caused that little deer's death. But when we rescued that baby deer, she was covered in ants, and she was all but dead. And we cleaned all those ants off of her. And an ant biting a deer is not going to kill them, but if they get bit 100 times or 500 times, it'll kill them. And that might have been what was wrong with that poor little baby deer. Was probably the 3rd deer of a triplets, abandoned. Her mama wouldn't take care of it. And we nursed her back, and she just was in love with me. I'm telling you. She never told me that, but she did tell me that by her eyes. She looked at me, and in her eyes said, "Jimmy, I love you." And I told her, "Lucille, I love you." And but I lost that little deer, and it was a big, big loss. And but you know, loving your animals, your dogs, your cats, your deer, your alpaca, your horse, your goats, whatever. My granddaughter Jordan showed goats and pigs, and she loved them all. And that's okay. And you know, deer, dogs, none of those things live as long as we do. So if we have pets, we're going to lose pets, and it's all a part of life. It's all a part of God's plans. Can I tell you, we're supposed to fall in love with them. We're supposed to fall in love with them. I think that's God's plan as well. God has given us dominion over the fish and over the animals. He intends for us to be good stewards. He intends for us to take care of them. And but it still hurts when we lose a pet. And I know it hurts each of y'all when you lose a pet too. And I know a lot of y'all deer hunters out there, and I'm a deer hunter. You know that. I'm a deer hunter. You go in my house, and there's a lot of deer hanging around on the wall that are 170, 190, 200 score, 230, 240 score deer. I got them. And I deer hunt. And I bear hunt, I turkey hunt, I quail hunt, I pheasant hunt, I dove hunt, I duck hunt. I do it all. And the animals God created for food, but He also created them for us to love them. And He instilled in us the desire to hunt. He also instilled in us the desire to love the deer. But when our pets die, we're supposed to be sad. And there's not any problems wrong with tearing up thinking about your pets, because I certainly do myself. Nothing wrong with that at all. I want to end this Sunday afternoon. Everything else is going great at the ranch. We live in heaven. I say that all the time. Chris is getting better all the time. Keep praying. Keep praying. Keep asking for rain too when you pray. A lot more important for Chris to get well than it is for it to rain. We will begin taking orders pretty soon here, probably within the next couple of weeks for our pecan crop. We'll have a good pecan crop. It's not going to be a great big pecan crop, but what we have will be excellent. They will be the best pecans you've ever eaten. I promise you. Probably start taking orders around October 1 or something, as soon as we can peg down the price of pecans this year. We have kept the same price, I think, for 4 years in a row. Hopefully we can still do that. I just don't know. The shipping might be a little bit higher. The pecan prices might be the same. They might be higher. They might be lower. I don't know. But as soon as we can get all that figured out, we'll start accepting orders. Probably will not start shipping pecans until late October, but they will be fresh pecans, never frozen. Fresh pecans, never frozen. I will promise you, they will be the best pecans you ever eaten. Jimmy Houston Twin Eagle Ranch pecans. We'll start. Some of y'all already asking about ordering pecans. Won't be long. Won't be long. Something happened there at the Farm and Home Supply store in Springfield that I just got to comment on. I didn't say anything while it happened, but I've seen it happen out in public, and it breaks my heart. It kills me to see it. And I got to make a comment, because I know this will affect very few of you. But the ones that it will affect, I just want you to think about what I'm going to say, a little bit, because it's a real important thing. I was visiting. We had my Shell Rotella Ranger boat and my Ram truck sitting in front of the Farm and Home Supply the last 3 days, and I visited with hundreds of people. Just a steady stream of people all day long for those 5 hours came by. Never more than 20 or 25 people there at a time, but just a steady stream. And a lot of you were the folks that's right here on our social media channels, YouTube and Facebook. And if you're not subscribed to those channels, subscribe. If you're not sharing those with people, for heaven's sakes, share. We are not the type of channel that Facebook is going to help very much or YouTube is going to help very much. They're into people that don't live their lives the way that we live ours, or don't believe the way that we believe. That's what people they're going to share and try to build up into huge channels. Ours has pretty much got to be built organically with folks like you. And so share it, subscribe if you're not subscribed. But I heard, as I was talking to some very, very sweet couple and a couple of very sweet ladies that are probably will listen to this Sunday afternoon chat, and we heard this big booming voice from inside the store, coming out of the store, I suppose, that says, "Don't you even think about acting like that. I've told you can't act like that." And this little boy screaming, how loud as he could scream, and this big booming voice. And I tried to ignore it. I thought, what is that anyway? And I was afraid of what it might be. And the lady that was talking to me, you could tell it annoyed her, but she's such a sweet lady, and we visited a long time, and she's in our social media, and then about that time the individual came back, and it was a big man, probably 6'3" or 6'4", and he was holding. I thought he was holding the little boy up by his neck, but he was holding a little boy by his left arm. The guy, and he was holding him up like this high. And the little, like holding up a chicken by the neck, is what it sort of reminded me of. And the little boy is screaming to high heaven. And the guy is saying, "You don't act like that. I've told you don't act like that in public. You know better than to act like that." And it was just scolding him. He was not using any profanity, which is good. I was glad to hear that. And he wasn't necessarily physically hurting the little boy, other than holding him up by one arm, his left arm. And he shook him a little bit. And I didn't say anything. Nobody did. Everybody was trying to ignore what was going on. He threw the little boy in his pickup truck and got in his truck and drove off. And I said a little prayer real quickly that I hope that little boy didn't get hurt later on in the day. But that's not exactly what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is how you act around the people you love the most. No doubt in my mind, that man loved that little boy to death. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He loved him. I'm sure it was his son. A lot of people live with girlfriends, and it might have been her son or whatever, but I'm sure, he probably loved that little boy. But that little boy is going to grow up and be the same kind of adult that his father or that man was, whomever was taking care of him. He's going to grow up and he's going to scream and yell at his kids, or worse. That man, and that man probably will never ever see this video, but that man, if he spoke that way to his little boy, he probably spoke that same way to his wife, his daughters if he had daughters, his other children if he had other children. He probably spoke that way to his friends. And can I tell you about kids? They're not going to necessarily do what we tell them to do all the time. I was a horrible kid. I got spankings, whippings, a lot. I believe that still we need to be spanking kids. I think that's what God put a butt on a kid for, He didn't put arms on there for you to be held up by your arm and shook. He didn't put your head there to be held up by your head. I think he put that butt on you to be whipped, though. And I have no problems with that. That's pretty much gone nowadays. People don't whip their kids, and you probably don't whip yours, and that's fine. I'm not saying you're doing it wrong. I know one thing. I got paddled in school when I was a teenager, 13, 14 years old. Certainly 10, 11, 12 years old. They did that in schools back then. And that probably should not be allowed in schools because there's some people out there that just shouldn't be doing that. And they probably would be doing that to kids that didn't really deserve to be getting a few licks in school. Every time I got a few licks, I deserved it. I earned them. I earned them when my daddy whipped me. I can't ever remember my mama whipping me, but I remember my mama telling me a million times, "Wait till your dad gets home." And I know that meant a big difference in my life and the way that I grew up and the kind of adult that I became. I never saw my dad raise his voice or scream or holler or hit my mother. I never saw my granddad do that to my grandmother. I've never done that to my wife. I've raised a son that, to my knowledge, has never done that to his wife. I raise kids that don't scream and holler and cuss at their kids. I'm not sure that Jamie ever paddled Jordan. I'm pretty sure that Sherry paddled Jeremy and Kyle. I thought about killing them a couple times myself. But nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, if you're out there and if you use bad language about around your kids or your grandkids or the neighbor's kids or whomever, that's what your kids are going to do when they grow up. If you are disrespectful to your wife, their mother, they're going to be disrespectful to their wife and the mother of their kids. I was in that Applebee's last night, and I don't know the situation, but there was two couples sitting a couple of booths away from me. I didn't go in there. I was watching football games. I didn't go in there until about 9 o'clock, so there wasn't many people in Applebee's. And they were having a lot of fun. They were having a great big dinner. They were laughing. They were having a few drinks and just having a good time. And all of a sudden, I heard this big noise. It sounded like gunshots. It sort of scared me. I was in Illinois. And I was in Springfield, not Chicago. But, and I looked, and there was a woman that had pounded on the window right by where I was sitting. And she'd hit it so hard it sounded like a gunshot. And she had done that to get that man's attention that was sitting there with another lady and another couple. And when that happened, he said, "What was that noise? What was that noise?" And he sounded like a gunshot. And he looked over there and saw her, and he said, "You get your," and he started using every profanity word you could think of. "Come right in here. You got a problem. You're going to cause a big scene." And he used the most awful language you could ever think of. Talking to her through the window, she couldn't hear him. And the other guy got up. He said, "I'm in here with my family, and you come and start doing this." And I don't know if it was a girlfriend or his ex-wife, or I have no idea. None of that. But he created a really big scene in that restaurant. Fortunately, there wasn't hardly anybody in there. I never said anything to him, but my guess is that man, probably 35, 40 years old, probably got kids. They probably talk just like him. Probably grandkids, they're going to talk just like him. And I guess that the only thing I wanted to mention in this is, we've got a lot of kids that are on our social media. I talk to them everywhere I go. I talk to several here. A lot of them ask me about my buddy Houston Arms from the Arms Family Homestead. And a lot of them are buddies with Houston. I had one boy, his name was Marcel. And he said, "If you see Houston, tell him I'm his biggest fan." He said, "I'm your biggest fan too, Jimmy." And I said, "If I see Houston this week, I'll tell him that." But so we have a lot of kids on our social media. And those kids are going to act like the adults that they're around. If you got beer in your icebox, if you got whiskey in your cupboard, yeah, they're going to grow up doing the same thing. A lot of you may think that's fine. A lot of you may not want your kids growing up doing that. If you disrespect your wife, or if you wives disrespect your husband, your sons and daughters are going to do the same thing. No matter what you teach them, no matter what you tell them, they're going to do what you show them. If you use foul language, they're going to do that. If you call in sick for work when you're not sick for work, they're going to do that. But can I give you some good news? Can I give you some good news? Not the good news is the gospel, although that's great news, not good news. The good news is if you live an exceptional life, if you work your hardest at being an exceptional mom or dad or brother or sister or grandma or granddad, if you work your life to be an exceptional employee or an exceptional business owner, an exceptional aunt or an uncle or a neighbor, your kids are going to grow up just like you. They're going to grow up just like you. The apple never falls very far from the tree. Now, you can be exceptional parents and sometimes have a kid that goes the wrong way. That happens. I've seen it. I've had friends that way. But for the most part, if you live an exceptional life in front of your children, your kids, your grandkids, the neighbor's kids, if you live an exceptional life in front of those kids, they're going to grow up and be exceptional people. They may go through some rough periods when they're not the kind of kids you thought you were going to raise, not the kids you intended to raise, not the kids that you did everything right and they got on the wrong path occasionally, because that happens. But they'll come back to it. They'll come back to that exceptionalism. And so, if you want your kids to be great, and golly, who doesn't? And I thought about that man, and then the thing that happened at Applebee's last night. And it was an ugly scene. And 2 booths right behind me was what I think was a grandma and granddad and their son and daughter and 2 little boys, 10, 11-year-old boys. They had to listen to all of that. They listened to some cuss words they might not have ever heard in their life. I don't know, maybe I'm being naive to think that. But whatever word you can think of, the man was using it. He was using it loud enough you could hear it pretty much all over. Probably if it had been crowded, somebody probably would have asked him to shut up or caused a scene. The management might have come out there. I don't know. The girls that were waiting on him were very gracious to him and very nice. And they were trying to be super nice to him, I think, so he would calm down a little bit. The lady that pounded on the window did not come in the restaurant. But somebody is always watching you. And little kids are going to always be there. And there was 10 and 11-year-old boys in that restaurant that heard that man say all of those things. I'm sure the guy in the store that was holding his little boy by that one arm, carrying him like a chicken and shaking him, wasn't using any profanity, which was good. But he just taught his little boy that this is how you treat your son. This is how you get your son to mind, do something well. And that little scene of him walking out of that store yesterday is going to haunt me for a long time. I'll think about that little boy for a long time. And you just wonder, or at least I'd wonder, at what point does that go from yelling and shaking that little boy to something even more violent? That man, a big man, with one little fit of anger could kill that little boy with one blow. I know he could. And I'm sure he probably would never ever do that. But it almost seemed like that he was on the brink of that. But even if he never does anything any more violent than that, he's teaching that little boy, this is how you raise kids. This is how you raise kids. So I'm just thinking, if you got kids in your life, however they may be, yours or somebody else's, they're going to grow up and act like you act around them. And you may have some neighbor kids that are treated that way at home. And when you treat them like an exceptional person, they might learn from you what an adult is supposed to really act like. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great Sunday afternoon. I'm sorry this is so late. I've been working. I can't wait to get home and pick up my beautiful girls, my beautiful lab, and my beautiful wife. They're both gorgeous, and I love them both. And get back down to Twin Eagle Ranch. Y'all have a great Sunday afternoon, whatever's left of it. And remember, I sure do love you.